unless we understand disorder, the nature of disorder, the structure of disorder, we can never find out what is order. Out of the understanding of disorder comes order. Not first seek order and then impose that order on disorder.
I've noticed in our conversations that you always suggest that we study some dysfunction. We are given the notion that the thing to study is the principle involved. The argument for that, of course, is that one refers to health in order to understand disease.
Correct.
But then the reference to health, when that is said, is received purely conceptually.
Correct.
And so what we're studying is now
a concept rather than the actuality, than what is.
And we slip out of the true task. There is a difficulty in grasping the suggestion that we study the disorder simply because disorder by its own condition is without an ordering principle.
Quite.
Therefore, it sounds, when it comes out, as though I'm being asked to study something that is unstudyable. But to the contrary, there's a rebellion in us against following movement, which perhaps lies in our disaffection with the intuition that we have that transition is unintelligible.
Okay.
And we don't want that. We can't stand the thought that there's something that is unintelligible. And so we just will not make that act of attention. Yes.
Sitting on the bank of the river and watching the waters go by, you can't alter the water. You can't change the substance or the movement of the water. In the same way, this movement of disorder is part of us and is flowing outside of us. So one has to look at it, the movement of thought and the movement of disorder. Can that mind observe this whole movement of disorder, not fragmentarily?
No, but the movement itself.
Movement itself. Disorder means contradiction.
Yes, and conflict, yes.
Contradiction, they oppose to that, the duality.
Mutually exclusive.
Yes.
Yes.
Is there an opposite to violence, or only violence? But we have created the opposite. Thought has created the opposite as non-violence. And then the conflict between the two. The non-violence is an abstraction of the what is.
Vice is not the opposite of virtue. Virtue is not the opposite of vice.
Thought has by its very nature is fragmentary, divides the me and the not me, we and they, my country and your country, my ideas and your ideas, my religion and your, and so on. The very movement of thought is divisive.
I'm sitting back exploring alternatives which are completely imaginary, illusory. Possibility, which is infinitely divisible. It only comes to an end with an act. With the very rejection of something, something takes its place which becomes even more divisive. Yes.
Because thought is the response of memory, response of experience, which is the past. It is thought that has produced disorder. Sounds contradictory, but it is so. Disorder is the factor which is in me, not out there. Measurement means comparison. To look without measurement, that is without comparison. Reality is immeasurable. A mind that is measuring, or a mind that is caught in measurement, can never find truth. Thought must be controlled, they say. So in order to find the immeasurable, You must control thought. And to control, who is the controller of thought? So another fragment of thought. So they use measurement to go beyond measurement.
Yes.
And therefore they could never go beyond it. Each fragment is working for itself in opposition to other fragments. Can this mind observe disorder, this mind which is already in a state of disorder, observe itself without introducing the factor of an orderly mind, which is the opposite?
Who will superimpose?
Yes.
Once order so conceived is superimposed upon an existing situation, not only does it not effect what is hoped for, but it creates a new situation,
Of course.
which we think requires a new approach.
Of course.
And the new approach is still the superimposition.
So can the mind be aware of itself as a movement of disorder, not trying to correct it, not trying to justify it, not trying to shape it, just to observe, to perceive, to see without the perceiver. You don't bring in your personality, your ego, your selfishness. Can the mind observe itself without the observer? Observe without the observer, who is the opposite. The observer is the observed. The observer who says, I am orderly and I must put order in disorder. The observer who says, I will bring order in disorder, that observer itself is a fragment of disorder. But the observer is the factor of disorder, because the observer is the power, is the factor of division. Where there is division, there is not only conflict, but disorder. Therefore, it can never bring about order.